ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a very special edition of Geeks Who Like Sports. It's one of our new Leaderboard interviews. Today, we are joined by a very, very special guest. Well, first, as always, I'm Ray Carcillo in Los Angeles, California, joined, of course, by my best friend, Lee Elias in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. But we're also joined by somebody else in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania today. Another one of my best friends in the gaming industry, Jason Fanelli. How are you, sir? Hey, what's up?
I am great. This is awesome. Getting the Ray and Jay podcast back together for one night only, probably. Featuring Lee. No, this is cool. this is cool, man. I've been following you guys for a while. You guys put out good stuff. I love the clips on Facebook. I love when Ray gets mad, just like everybody else. And I'm really digging this. I'm really excited about this.
Cool, thank you. Of course, for those of you who don't know, Jason is he is the eSports reporter for The Hollywood Reporter. He also has a weekly segment on 1480 AM in Philadelphia, The Gambler, Fox Sports The Gambler, where he talks about eSports. He's also been featured in Walmart Game Center. He's been featured, of course, on sci-fi.com. He is a man of many hats and many specialties. And yes, as he mentioned, we once upon a time hosted a podcast together.
Yes, I have been around the block a few times, and I'm tired.
Tired, right? You sound like God, Jay. I know how you feel completely.
Don't. I've been right. I've realized right at the end of last year that my decade writing about video games passed. It was 2008 was my first published article on Gaming Target, right before I graduated Temple in 2009, and it's been a crazy time, both professionally and personally. It's been nuts, but I wouldn't trade it for the world.
Yeah, no, we actually got started around the same time. Actually, my first published article that wasn't like on a personal blog spot or anything for ESPN was a Madden review for me in August 28th, 2008. So it was Madden with Brett Favre cover.
I was October. I was 2 months later, and I think it was like the top games to look for in 2009, something like that.
Yeah. Which of course you had to do those top 10 lists and all those top like holiday lists back. You still do, but especially back then.
They pay the bills.
Yes.
And I in both of those years had hair.
Yay!
Hey, all right.
Retired officially in 2020.
Well, it's good because Jason, back in 2008, Jason, you were getting into video games, graduating college. I was towing the line between sports and video games at ESPN. Lee was fully immersed in sports. He was at the NHL then, so we are truly geeks who like sports. We are the gamut here of everything in our lives.
NHL, going to the comic book store with you every week. We have to remind ourselves of that.
Yes, I drove with 100 miles an hour down the Brompton Avenue.
There you go.
Yeah.
So we have the full spectrum of geeks who like sports. You have the geek who made his name in sports but does geek stuff on the side. You have the geek who's made his name in gaming and likes sports on the side, and Ray, who's right in the middle, who works in gaming and stuff like that, but also worked in sports too. I've never worked in sports, so this just gets better and better.
Yeah,
it just proves the point that this show is for a lot of people. A lot of people. Yeah, I remember when we were naming it, Ray and I talk about this all the time. Like, what should we call it? And we're just like, it's geeks who like sports. That's what it's about. Yeah. It would just fit. And there's a lot of us out there.
Nail on the head. Hit the nail on the head. Because there's nothing worse than when you have a podcast and you have no idea what it's about sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, we've got so Jay, of course, you did your segment today. We're recording this on April 16th. So you did this. You actually did your segment today for Fox Sports. We're actually going to be talking about some of the same things because me and Lee touched upon this stuff on our last episode.
Cool.
But we want to start with everything going on in iRacing and NASCAR. Now when we talked about it on Sunday, there had only been one incident, which was, of course, was the Bubba Wallace incident. His rage quit and he lost all his sponsors. But now we have Kyle Larson, who said a very, very bad, like the worst word.
He said the word.
He said the worst word. And of course has to go for sensitivity training. He's out of NASCAR for the time being. Like, Jay, I want to get your thoughts on both of these incidents: the Bubba Wallace rage quit, and then of course the Kyle Larson bad word.
See, the Bubba Wallace rage quit didn't really register on my radar because it's a rage quit. I didn't really expect him to lose sponsors over that. Find me a gamer who hasn't rage quit, and I'll find you a liar. So, I mean, it happens. Kyle Larson, on the other hand, Kyle Larson is an idiot. He's a snob. I'm sure you guys have listened to the clip in preparation for this.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just that he used the word. That is bad enough on its own. But he used the word to see if people could hear him. He says, "Can you guys not hear me?" or "Can you not hear me?" And then he says, "Hey, and then everyone's like, "Oh yeah, that picked up, brother." You're ooh. You can hear someone in the background go, "Ooh." Right? Like this guy, he's half. As I understand it, he's half Japanese, and he was a major part of NASCAR's new diversity initiative. This guy, and now he's out of NASCAR for using the word that shall not be named.
Yeah,
like there are few words worse. In fact,
how about this? For those of you listening who might not know what word he said, if this was Family Feud, and they asked, we polled 100 people of the worst possible word you can say on a broadcast, and there's only one answer on the board.
It's gonna hit.
Survey says you know what it is.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's a shame for him, because I take that back. It's not a shame for him. It's a shame for iRacing. It's a shame for NASCAR because now they had a lot of momentum going. They had a really good thing going. They had ratings. The first was 960,000. The second one was over 1 million viewers. They had a great thing. And the one saving grace they have, is that this race, Mondo Madness, I think it was called, was organized by one of the pros, the eSports pros, and it was just like a one-off, why the hell not, let's do this. It technically was not part of the Coca-Cola Pro Invitational at one of their speedways. It was during an off week. So iRacing and eNASCAR then can distance themselves a little bit easier by saying, hey, it wasn't one of our sanctioned events, even though we hosted it on our website. It was just like a one-off thing that somebody threw together. If it happened this week when they're, I believe, doing Bristol, that would be worse. So,
it'd be worse, but I think that just to jump in here, I think that still it's a NASCAR driver,
sure,
right? Like there's only so much they can arm distancing can do, and obviously for those people who aren't into NASCAR, there is a stereotype.
Absolutely,
there is a bad image for people who aren't into the sport necessarily, and this only plays into that, unfortunately, and is going to make it harder for them to overcome some of these stigmas that about who's into NASCAR, about who participates in NASCAR, and I think that they might be able to distance themselves a little bit from this, but they're going to have to do a lot of work in order to fix this mark on their record now.
Yeah, especially with him being one of their big diversity proponents. For that guy to say the word, it's funny that you mentioned that there's a stereotype in NASCAR when we're talking about a heinous word being used that is also a stereotype. It's amazing how that coin goes both ways, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's a stupid thing that he did, and everything that happened to him was justified, unfortunately. My favorite thing about this, I don't know if you saw his video response, his apology, where he says that he wasn't raised like that. And then one DL Hughley responded via tweet, and he said, if you say that word and then you say you weren't raised, if you weren't raised like that and you use the word, guess what? You might have been raised like that, or something of that nature.
Yeah.
He's doing the Foxworthy thing.
Yeah. So, sucks for Kyle Larson a little bit. I mean, it sucks for Kyle Larson's family, let's say.
Yeah.
It sucks for the innocent people that, like his wife or kids, if he has those, that now have to deal with him not having a paycheck because of his dumb ass mouth. Does not suck for him because he committed the transgression if he were to go through his training and maybe find his way back, as some people are able to do. Some will never forgive him. Unfortunately, I don't think the people that will never forgive him are NASCAR fans, if you understand what I'm saying.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to be an issue for him to come back to that particular sport. But see.
Time will tell. Time will tell. So let's move off of this topic and move into. I mean, speaking of eNASCAR and iRacing, and in this time that we are living in, you're seeing more and more a lot of sports leagues to overcome the lack of product that they're able to go out there and do right now. You're starting to see a lot of these leagues pop up: NBA 2K tournaments, MLB The Show, FIFA. What is your thoughts on seeing all these? Especially the real life athletes playing the game that they would that they would actually be playing in real life, but playing video game versions of themselves and going out there and holding these tournaments and holding these streams and trying to still keep, beat the drum of, hey, our sport's still great and we'll be back sooner than you think, but here's something in the meanwhile.
I think it's great for esports as a whole now because it gives the leagues exposure. It introduces people who might not have looked at the video games before a way to look at them. It gives the sports fans something. It may not be the same. And in fact, one of my coworkers at my day job, right after I recorded my my thing for Fox today, I had a video meeting with my team. And one of the ladies on my team, older woman, probably mid 40s, early 40s, said that she tried it and she would just rather watch a game from 20 years ago. And I respect that. If you can't get into it, if it's not your thing, if you'd rather watch real people instead of a video game being played by a real person where you have to hear that person's voice, maybe you don't want to hear the players talk, you just want to watch them play, fine. Go watch, Jordan do his thing in the 90s. Go watch the Knicks when they were good, back when Jesus played. So
he's had to get that dig in there.
Listen, I butchered the Yankees name on the radio earlier. I had to.
Oh yeah, I tweeted at you. I direct messaged you about that one when I
sure did.
That.
Canely, I'll never forget that.
Tommy Canely.
Tommy Canely. 0-4 in the show league. What the hell's this problem?
Yeah, I don't know why we got a relief pitcher representing the whole Yankees, but anyway.
But no, it's good. It's good for esports as a whole, but we can't forget that there may be a bubble here. The true test will be if something like the EMLS or the MLB The Show League that doesn't use the players, like an actual pro with esports pros, can continue to be successful when real sports come back.
Right.
Are viewers going to be willing to split their time? I think younger viewers are, like you and I, and Lee here, with his lack of hair. I really can't talk. The back of my head, I'm doing real estate too. That's excellent. Yeah, I don't think that it's completely hunky-dory. I think EMLS is seeing enough success with local tournaments. They had one called FIFA-delphia, where it was just 32 people playing through the union's EMLS organization. They had stuff like that. Now international teams are getting involved. Stay and Play was on ESPN2 today doing FIFA tournaments with Real Madrid and Tottenham and actual big European teams. It's good for now. It's a good Band-Aid, but when that Band-Aid comes off and the world is healed, will it, are you going to throw it away, or are you going to be one of those people that looks, it's a bad analogy, but you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's the issue. But also on the other end of the spectrum, you have normal esports. You have Overwatch League, your Call of Duty League, your League of Legends, your Dota 2 and stuff like that, who are also they are unaffected outside of going from live events, which has its own issues. Then the photographers are messed up, and the people that are hosting are losing that money. But they can online and they can still progress their season, so they're okay. Maybe even saving a little bit of money here and there. But as far as like the MLB League or the MLS League, that time will tell.
So I want we're gonna get into Overwatch League later, but I want to turn it to Lee first because I want to get from more the sports perspective what your thoughts are on a lot of these. What you think, buddy, about how all these leagues are doing, and is it a stopgap, or is it like, will you as the sports fan, will you watch somebody play MLB The Show now? Are you more willing to watch that, or when baseball comes back, are you just going to turn all the way to baseball?
Yeah, it's a great question. I mean, when it comes to me, so like, yeah, again, I watch the actual sports more than I watch e-gaming. That's just who I am, right? And when I find with the gaming side is like, I can watch it for a few minutes or 30 minutes maybe a little bit, but I just have a hard time getting through the whole thing. And that is not a shot at anyone that loves it or plays it or anything like that. It's just not for me yet. That's just the way I was raised, right? Not to quote that idiot, but it's just the way I experience it. So I miss real sports quite a bit. But I'm coping with it because, again, I'm in a weird situation, and Jason knows this. I have kids. I have a lot going on that's keeping my time occupied. But I was telling this to Ray. I was telling this to Ray the other day. I made hot dogs for my kids the other night, and I realized in that moment, like, I really miss baseball. I really miss baseball right now. And obviously my number one sport is ice hockey by a mile. And, we were in the middle of the season, and, Jason, you're from the Philadelphia area. The Flyers were doing really well, and it's like all of a sudden in true Philadelphia fashion, they rip your heart right through your, what, and like it just stops. So, it's an interesting time period to try and find things. And like I said, I've tailored my focus more to my family and my work outside of actual sports. But Jason, I do want to ask you a quick question too, on this topic, which is, obviously what's happening right now came so quickly and so fast, and it just arrived, right? In terms of like with the life we're living in now, and within 48 hours, everything changed. So how would you rate the response from the e-gaming world, eSports world? Do you think they're doing enough right now to get in front of new people? Because the business side of me is thinking like, what aren't they doing right now to really promote themselves, to get new people in? And now is the time, in my opinion, you can tell me if I'm wrong, but now is the time not just to appease your existing audience, which is obviously probably enthralled and if anything excited that this is happening, not that the COVID-19 is happening, but that they can play their games all the time. But do you feel like the response to get new people, because there's so many new people going online right now and experiencing the digital world for the first time? Do you feel that they've had an adequate response? Could they do more? I mean, where are you sitting with that?
Well, I think that both Overwatch League and Call of Duty League made a slight mistake by taking so long to come back. It helps them both that they are on YouTube, YouTube being a much bigger platform than Twitch. They have a contract with them now, so all Overwatch League games, all Call of Duty League games are played exclusively on YouTube. That helps them, because if like you have a kid or like a teenager going to watch his favorite YouTuber play Call of Duty, then you see Call of Duty League and you're like, hey, what's that? But as far as straight up advertising, no, I don't think that the existing leagues have done enough. I think they could always do more. And I think where they have suffered the most, or where they have done the least to mitigate, is to get those people like, say, my dad, for example,
or me, to be honest with you.
Well, but I don't mean, I don't like. Well, my question back to you real quick is: do you play first-person shooters? Do you enjoy them?
I don't, and it's not that I don't enjoy them. It's a time restraint. And Ray, I'll tell you, I'm more of a story gamer. Like I'm traditional with Star Wars and anything that I kind of already know. But
I like.
Yeah, no, I'm not into that.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm the same way as you. But we both have an understanding of the gaming world. So if I sat you down in front of Call of Duty, it may take you 30 minutes, but you can figure out what's going on. Exactly.
Yeah.
Call of Duty League does a pretty good job of that with their Codcaster technology, where they have they're with their feed, two teams are playing each other, and what the teams are seeing on their monitors is standard Call of Duty, but what we are seeing is two teams in unique colors representing each team, so we know who's where. Yeah. When we're watching one player's vision, we can see silhouettes, even though he can't see them. We know where they are, and they have They have free roaming cameras so they can show, like, if a skirmish is coming, they can be there. They have 5 or 6 dudes just sitting at consoles, manning these cameras, waiting for these skirmishes to happen. I got to see it. I got to see it for myself.
That's awesome.
They got to practice. They did it before the league started. They did a rehearsal of a day in this place in Lidditz up by Lancaster.
Yeah.
And they invited me, and only me, I found out, to see this. I walked their set. I asked all these questions. I saw where the production trucks. You're an ESPN guy. These production trucks would have blown your mind.
Oh, I believe it.
Oh my God!
The broadcaster in me is already fascinated with this.
So they have 5 guys, like I said, that just watch or have all free roaming cameras, and then they can swap to a first person view whenever they want. Any of this 12 players, on the field. It's fascinating to look at, and the 2 production trucks, one just for this podcaster, one just for these 5 guys, and then the other one, which looked like something you would find at a college game day or at the Super Bowl. It was humongous, and they can cut anything, they can do whatever they want. But that doesn't help the people who think the game is too fast to follow.
Sure.
Like your motion sick people, your people where the guns like this all over the camera, and the people who are watching are getting dizzy and they can't see what's going on. That's the biggest issue. They need both of them. Every first person shooter esports league out there needs a stream with no first person views whatsoever. Yeah. Only third person. You can be over the shoulder even for players. Yeah. That's fine. But only third-person sweeping shots of the environment like Codcaster can do, so that people who are motion sick, people who can't follow the action that quickly, people who, when someone gets shot and you're in their first-person mode, like all of a sudden they're dead and you're just like, what happened? They need to treat it less like a video game and more like Saving Private Ryan.
Well, and here's what's funny about what you're saying. I've taken 2 things from this. One is you just did a better job selling me on it than anyone has in the world, right? No, I'm serious, because like the way you just described that, now I'm curious and I want to see it. I've had no advertising at me. Like I would definitely be a candidate for that advertising on like a Facebook or something like that, right? Sure. I mean, I haven't seen anything to make me want to watch that. The way you just described it, you should give the Call of Duty a call and tell them you need some money now because you advertised it to me in a really perfect way. I mean, I'm not trying to be silly, but seriously, the way you just did it, now I'm fascinated and I'd like to see that, right? Yeah. So I haven't seen any of that kind of marketing towards myself. The second thing, and this is the bigger point, is you just told Ray that there's a reason for him to move to Pennsylvania because there is work out here in video games so that he could be here. So it's an ongoing theme here. We have Operation Rescue Ray. And me and my friend want to drive it to Los Angeles, tie him up like in a bad movie, drive him back to Pennsylvania and be like, you just live here now, right? And now you're an accomplice, and I want you to know that. But it's not like this is going to be publicly heard or anything like that by thousands.
The problem is as soon as he crossed into the Pennsylvania border, he would burst into flames. So,
so it's a win-win is what you're telling me.
Unless we kept going up 95 to New York, where he could be restored. If he just stays in Philadelphia for too long, he bursts into flames.
If you take him to New York, that angry version of him, it happens all the time. Now it's fun at first, but after 6 or 7 days of that,
I'll be too strong.
He's reached critical mass.
But at least he can get a good pastrami there.
Yeah, I could go to Katz's Deli again. That'd be great.
He's been eating a lot of cheesesteaks. They're pretty good. I'm like, they're not good.
They're not.
In Los Angeles, they're not good.
They're not bad. Look, there's one place out here called Philly's Best. They're pretty good.
It is pretty good. I'll give him that.
See, because Jay's been out here. See, Jay, for those who also don't know, Jay is also, whenever we have E3, which is also very sad that that's not happening this year, Jay is my he stays at the Hotel Carcillo.
I do.
And we always drive down to E3 together.
Yeah, he picks me up. I call my goober, and he comes and gets me. It's awesome. But yeah, so
how many stars is that hotel?
2.5. The facilities are nice, but the way he's cooking now, I haven't gotten any of that shit.
It's been renovated too.
But you can't beat the price. You can't beat the price though,
That's
Jay.
True. That's
you can't
true.
beat the price.
That's true.
It's not true. If I pay him to stay with me, I can beat the price.
Well, yeah, because right now it's okay.
Don't business the businessman, right? No, I'm just kidding. Go ahead. Sorry.
Now, see, this actually brings up another opportunity that the Call of Duty and Overwatch leagues has, and that's on-demand video. Not only are they broadcasting on YouTube, you just said you're fascinated by it. I can now bring up a link to the finals of last weekend's home series and send it to you, and you can watch the whole thing.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm not going to send you the finals. I'm going to send you a different match because so the way the Call of Duty League works is it's best of 5 maps each. Best of 11. Best of 11? No. Best of 5 modes. So there's 5 maps. So Hardpoint is one where the territory keeps moving. Search and Destroy, which is one team has a bomb, one team defends. If you get 1 life, and if you die, you're out. So, and then there's different win conditions there. In one of the matches over the weekend, one team went down 5-0 in Search and Destroy. It's best of 11, and then ran the table to bring it back. That's pretty good.
That's cool. See, this is selling me on. This is what I want to see.
The reverse sweep. But I can now show you this clip. I can send you this link, and you can watch it for yourself, and you can gauge on whether you think this broadcasting element is for you. And if it is, then you're in. You'll start watching it live. Another thing the Call of Duty League does that I don't like right now is that between now and July, they're bi-weekly. They're not weekly like Overwatch is.
That does not make sense. Not with this time period.
Yeah, because it doesn't, but it was the schedule they had before. What they were doing was they were going to one city of the teams that they have, and they were having a home series, which was 8 of the 12 teams come to that city, and they had a small double elimination tournament. 10 points in the standings for every win, 50 points for winning the whole thing. They're keeping to that schedule. So the next weekend is the Chicago Huntsman's home series with only 8 teams. It's the last weekend in April. Why they didn't front load that to be every week, I don't understand. I don't get it.
Or find something to do in the meantime that still is broadcast worthy.
Now they are right this minute. Right now, as we record this, they are doing. I'll look the name of it up when I stop using my lips. But they basically have they have pro Call of Duty League players partnering with celebrities in Call of Duty Warzone right now. So
cool.
2 players of the Seattle Surge are with Richard Sherman and second name here. I don't remember the other guy. I didn't recognize the other guy. And they're doing quads in Call of Duty Warzone right now, which is their big battle royale. And if you run into them, you can play them. And then you're like, who killed me? Oh, it was that. Oh, cool. Call of Duty League. That's cool. But again, they're advertising to their own audience. They're not branching out.
Well, and here's another question for eSports, right? And this is a question for both of you. Sorry to be the layman in the conversation, and Ray, I'll stop asking questions after this, but I'm fascinated. Yeah. One of the missed opportunities I think that's going on in e-gaming right now with sports and eSports is that I love that they're promoting the current games, and I get it. But Ray and I are not huge fans of NHL 20, right? There's people that don't play NBA. So, I would love to see, and again, I want to know if this is limited to just me, but I would love it if the NHL did like an NHL 94, an NHL Blades of Steel tournament right now. And I know Blades of Steel is going to be a little harder because that's not an online game, obviously, right? But they could figure it out. I would love to see an NBA Jam tournament. I'd love to see a Blitz tournament. These classic kind of over-the-top games, and I'd love to hear their commentary while they're playing. You're probably not going to get too many rage quits on that because it's so ridiculous, right? I mean, MLB has had so many games, I can't pick one. Ray and I went through that one week on our show. We went through all 6,000 titles in MLB history that they've had. But, I mean, Mario Baseball. Let's throw the Mario Baseball. That's a great
Sluggers,
game.
let's go.
Exactly, right? Like, why have they just not thought of that? Is it not a good idea? What are your guys' thoughts on that, both of you?
Go ahead, Ray.
I mean, I think like you hit down the head. I think it's because it's hard. You could stream those games easily. You can find emulators and but you wouldn't be able to play against somebody online, right? There's no online.
Even with NBA Jam?
I don't know if the one that came out like 10 years ago had. I think it did.
360, I believe.
The 360 version did, but
it's a different system though. Yeah.
So I think
you just have to game the system here. You could get like an emulator. or
Yeah.
something
They
of
could
that
do
nature.
it. They could
Or
do
like
it if they wanted to do it.
Like a GGPO or a MAME where it's like the arcade cabinet of NBA Jam Tournament Edition, but you just can connect to each other. Like the standalone ones, the arcade one up that you can buy at Walmart, the little like mini arcade machines that have a bunch of different games on them. The NBA Jam one, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, when that comes out, if it hasn't already, has online built in.
See, it's a missed opportunity to me. Like I'd be pushing that out. Yeah,
it's a missed opportunity to you, and I do believe that there is an audience for it, but I don't know if that audience is big enough to justify it.
That's fair too.
What it would require logistically to get that working, because those games didn't have an online infrastructure. They just didn't.
Sure.
Right.
So you not only need to get the games, you need to find a way to play them. And the only way to play them in a competitive tournament that you could have a bunch of people watching is with more than 10 people in one room. And that's kind of a poo-poo thing right now.
Can't do that right now for
right,
sure.
Exactly. And also there's also the issue too, like Jay said, of the audience, right? Like if you're gonna Twitch stream or YouTube stream, those typically skew towards younger viewers. Yet everybody who'd be interested in NHL 94 and NBA Jam tend to be older because they're from our childhood, right? So there's that disconnect in the audience who would care. You'd have, I mean, like Lee, like with Logan who's 6 now. I don't think he'd want to see. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but I don't think he'd care about NHL 94 when you could see NHL 20, at least in terms of like the visuals, right?
Exactly.
Like, I think telling me that he would rather see Snoop Dogg over Jeremy Roenick.
Yes.
Probably. I don't even think he knows who Jeremy Roenick is.
I would rather see Snoop Dogg over Jeremy Roenick at this point. But that's Jeremy Roenick's fault.
That's a whole another person who has to go for sensitivity training.
We can jump off this topic. I just had to ask you guys, and obviously, if you're listening to this, let us know what you think about all these topics that we're having.
It's a valid question. It is a valid question, and when the world becomes itself again, in whatever form that will be, there is a market for a retro Rumble style. Bring in like old NHL, old NBA, even old like Street Fighter.
Yeah, it's just a thought. It was just a thought.
No, for sure. I mean, you gotta just gotta skew it towards that. I mean, and Jay knows this because he was there. But at E3 a couple years ago, I was in that over 30 tournament. It was that retro. It was a retro tournament about all these mostly retro games. Smash Ultimate was the only current one at that time, I believe, and Rocket League. Those were the two current
Rocket League.
Yeah. But even Rocket League was a few years old at that point. But like, so people do enjoy watching older games, and there is an audience for it, but.
Nostalgia,
yeah. The work to go into that, you can't do it right now.
You know where the money is for older games, speed running.
Yes.
So there is a whole another layer of competition in that speed running. In fact, if you're not familiar with Games Done Quick, Games Done Quick is a charity marathon. They usually do 2 a year, one in January, one in July. Awesome Games Done Quick in January, Summer Games Done Quick in July. It is a full week, Sunday to Saturday, of nonstop marathoning speed runs. You pitch a game, they accept you, they put you in a time slot, they put out the schedule, and anytime you want on Twitch, you can sign on to Games Done Quick's Twitch channel, and whatever speed run they're doing, you can watch and join in the fun. They donate in Awesome Games Done Quick donates to the Prevent Cancer Foundation, and in the Summer Games Done Quick accepts donations to Doctors Without Borders, or if you're fancy like me, Médecins Sans Frontières, which is also said wrong. Sorry guys, but the last 2 marathons, Summer and Awesome, Summer 19 and Awesome 2020. They raised over $3 million for these charities.
Wow.
Yeah.
Each.
Shows you the power of these things. It's unbelievable.
There's one coming next week or the week after. Corona Games Done Quick. They're doing one from Tuesday to Friday. Schedule just came out. And all donations go to a COVID-related charity. I don't know which one off the top of my head. But these are amazing. They take older games and newer games, but mostly older games, and play them in ways you would have never thought possible. Do you know what the world record for beating Ocarina of Time, any percent, which means not 100%, just beating it? You know what the record is right now?
Isn't it like 9 minutes or something?
16 minutes.
Yes,
Wow.
It's like ridiculous. Yeah.
It's
there's also a lot of these folks, I mean, to their credit too, they find these amazing glitches sometimes that get them from point A to point B super quick. I've seen that with the ones I've watched. I haven't watched Ocarina, but the ones I've watched typically are Super Metroid, which is done in 40 minutes or less now.
Yes.
And Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island, the first one with Yoshi's Island, where annoying baby Mario on your back.
Yep.
Like that. Yeah, exactly. Like I've watched those, and of course Mega Man. Like I was proud of myself that I beat Mega Man. I could still beat Mega Man X in under 2 hours, and I watched a guy beat it in 35 minutes on Games Done Quick, and I was like, ugh.
You're like, I'm sorry, what?
Yeah.
How does that happen? Oh,
yeah.
You're right, Ray. Let me correct myself. The current world record in Ocarina of Time is 7 minutes and 34 seconds.
7 minutes. I spent 7 years on that game.
Right. So they exploit, like you said, they exploit glitches. There's a particular glitch in Ocarina of Time where you can basically make the game skip you from the very beginning when you're a child in Kokiri Forest to walking up the steps in Ganon's castle at the end. You can basically skip the entire game.
Yep. I'm going to have to watch this. I was going to say, is the water temple still the longest part of that speed run?
They don't even go there.
They don't even go there. I mean, they just zap. Yeah,
this is already better.
Yeah, you zap from the beginning of the first dungeon to literally the end of the
last.
I'm
going to watch this now. See, again, you guys are selling me on this stuff. This is what's been needed. So
Corona Games Done Quick starts tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
I thought it was next week, and it starts tomorrow at noon Eastern with a 101% run, which is everything in the game, of Donkey Kong Country on Super Nintendo.
Ooh.
And the target time is 55 minutes. The entire game, everything less than an hour.
Wow.
He'll do it too.
I gotta see.
Do it.
We're gonna try and get this up before this. So April 17th is what is.
You better get this podcast up tonight.
Yeah, April 17th to watch that Donkey. I mean, you'll probably be able to watch. Go back and watch it anyway.
Yes. So they do have a YouTube channel where they put all of their speed runs, video on demand, which is a very.
Ocarina. Right?
Yeah. And then every year in January, they do a block called Awful Games Done Quick, where they speed run terrible games. It's a freaking riot. You have to check it.
Oh God, but, like Ride the Hell Retribution or something.
That was one of them a couple years ago, I think. But crap like that, like Mega Man on the DOS. There's a whole subset of people that play Mega Man on DOS. Oh
no.
So just tomorrow, starting at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time. Donkey Kong Country, Shovel Knight, the King of Cards expansion for King Knight, Sonic Mania, Halo 1.
Okay.
Kirby on the Switch, Kirby Star Allies, Celeste, if they can get they do bonus games and bonus things where if you raise a certain amount of money in a certain amount of time, they'll add games to the marathon. Celeste is a bonus game. Ocarina of Time in less than 3 hours, but this is a randomizer. This is one more thing about it. They take
these are games, fascinating. Yeah, tell them about this.
They take these games like Link to the Past and Super Metroid and that games that were item based, where like you had a certain item to get to a certain point, and randomize them, so you don't know what you're getting when you get them.
Yeah,
it's crazy.
Awesome. Yeah, so like if you go like in Link to the Past,
you're selling me on this better than anyone else.
Yeah, like if you go to like a Link to the Past, and the first item you get in the first temple is always the bow and arrow, right? But instead, it might be the phaser beam from Metroid or something for some reason, which you can't even use or whatever in Link to the Past.
Yes. They did a race at Awesome Games where they were doing Super Metroid and Link to the Past at the same time, and if you went like off a screen in Super Metroid, you might end up in Link to the Past, and they had two people waiting. But so that is really awesome. But the best,
or you'll more likely get like the hammer or something, which is something you can't use until far later in the game, like in Link to the Past. That's right. More.
But the best one I've ever seen is Mike Tyson's Punch Out. 2 people using one controller. So one person was controlling the movement, one person was controlling the punches, both blindfolded. They never lost. Even on Tyson, they never lost.
That's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
Let's just use the sound.
Yeah. It's absurd. The same guy who did that at Summer this past year did Punch Out Wii blindfolded, the whole thing in like an hour and 5 minutes.
Unbelievable. Yeah, no, it's
you have to watch these.
It's very fascinating, all the things they do and the gimmicks they come up with and the stipulations that they have. And the thing is that when you come up with a new stipulation, then somebody else tries to emulate it and then tries to beat it a lot of times, maybe the next year or even within a few months. I mean, yes. I also love the Pokemon runs where if your Pokemon faints, it counts as if it's dead and you have to release it.
Nuzlocke, they're called. Yes.
Yeah, Nuzlocke. The Nuzlocke runs for Pokemon. Yes, exactly. Yeah, where so like you could end up with like a Pidgey in your final party or something just because you've lost all your best Pokemon over the course of the game if you're not careful.
Yeah,
like there's amazing stipulations that they've come up with in these events
just to make them harder.
Yeah, exactly. Just to test themselves.
I gotta tell you guys, I'm watching this Ocarina of Time speedrun.
Right?
Which will be done before we're done. Now here's the first. This is the thing for those of you listening that don't know about this, because there are other people listening to the show like me. He's 2 minutes 45 seconds into the run right now, and I just realized that none of that's playable. It's all the intro to the game, right?
Yeah.
So like in reality, he's probably beating this thing in more like 5 minutes, right?
Right.
There should be,
without so 2:56, the game just started. Like he just started playing. Incredible.
There's I don't know if he's doing it. So if he's not at a marathon, like if he's doing it in his own setup, you might even see on one side of the screen checkpoints. They list certain milestones in the game, and there's certain times that he's going to have to hit in order to beat that run. Do you see? Is that there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, actually it is, because it shows the previous world record. Well, what the world record is right before.
And it's heartbreaking.
This is the world record.
I love it when they commentate. Like it's heartbreaking when the Super Metroid guys are doing it or whatever, and you see those checkpoints, and they start to get hopeful. They're like, I'm 1.5 seconds ahead of the record. I'm 1.5. And then he's like, and he messes up, and he's like, you see, and he's like 3 seconds behind, and he's like, I might as well start over. I've actually seen that where guys will just start over again and again and again and again because like there's no point in me continuing. I won't make up this time.
Now you won't see that at the marathons, like the games done quick marathons.
Games done quick, they will finish. But
marathon speed running is considered less competitive. That's just for fun to raise the money. You're just going to have a good time and beat Pokemon Sword in 4 hours and 25 minutes, like somebody's trying to do on Sunday. The world record people, the people who stream, they're nuts. and I will admit, a guilty pleasure of mine on YouTube is compilations of speedrunners who fail at a certain point and freak the hell out. They're pretty good. I'm not gonna lie.
It's kind of like my Ray rages over the Giants and stuff sometimes in terms of their meltdown.
Beautiful.
Man, I really wish I had realized it was this weekend. I would have definitely brought that up on Fox. God damn it.
That's all right. You brought it up here. We're better than Fox.
That's true.
So
that's not true. That's not true. I think
we're not paying you here, Jay. It's a one-time thing.
Friendship.
But so before we move on, we talked a lot about games today, but I know you're also both, and we're going to talk about this more, Lee, on Sunday. But I want to get your opinion, Jay, while you're here. As an Eagles fan, next week is the draft. It's NFL. That is still happening. Of course, they'll be Skyped and streamed. They'll be all remote, which it can be, which is perfectly fine. I know what I want my Giants to do with our number 4 pick in the draft because we were terrible again last year. But what do you think your Eagles are going to do in the draft this year?
Think or want?
Both. Give me both.
I want them to trade up for Ruggs.
Okay.
They're going to need to. I think. I think they're going to need. They need a wide receiver, and Ruggs is the guy that I have targeted. What do I think they're going to do? I think they're going to stay put and draft an offensive lineman because that's what they do.
Yeah.
I don't know why. That's just what they like to do in the first round. But no, we need a wide receiver. That is everyone's talking about. Is it Justin Jefferson? Is his name?
Yeah.
He's the marquee guy. I'm not worried about him. He's not going to be there. So if we can get Ruggs in 10 to 17, trade up a couple spots, give him to me. That's it.
That's fair. That's Lee. What do you think?
I would like any players that are not going to get injured throughout the course of a season. I'd like to get through a season with a healthy team and guys that can catch the ball.
He asked for what we think is going to happen in the draft, not for a miracle, man.
Yeah, dude, the Eagles are such a tough team to plan around right now because they have so much potential and so much talent, right? And it's just the last 2 seasons specifically has been underwhelming. Now, a lot of teams can say that, obviously, but like you look at last season where legit the entire starting lineup outside of Kelsey got hurt, and then our quarterback who always gets hurt didn't get hurt until the last game of the season. So I think you're right. Wide receiver is the position we need to grow at. I think our defense is good if they're healthy. I think they've made some good moves in the offseason to kind of help bolster that.
Mm-hmm.
But there's other things too. Maybe later in the draft, but Kelsey's not going to be around probably much longer. We might want to start looking for a center. Again, I'll research this more, but I think you're right. I think wide receiver. I mean, if we had one wide receiver last year, one that wasn't.
Who knows?
It's a totally different team. Just totally different team. Unlike Aguilar.
Oh.
Because that guy's house burned down, but he's gone now anyway. But you know what I'm saying? Like I think they're a lot closer than people realize, right? I think if you draft the right player and put him into that system and they can stay healthy, that's going to be a big deal. It probably is a receiver, but we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you there. And I want to say, and I'm not saying this just to razz you, Ray, but just because of the way the world is now, a couple experts have said this. Mike Greenberg has said this, a couple others, that the Eagles are in a very advantageous position in the NFC East because they're the only team that doesn't have a new coach. Yeah. So I don't want to say we can feast on the NFC East because you can never really feast on the NFC East no matter what happens.
No.
We don't know if one of those coaches is gonna explode, even with a shortened OTA and training camp schedule, if that's what happens.
Yeah.
But I would like to think that we can get out of the division 5-1, just because the Redskins are poop. The Giants may still be poop, and
probably
we usually split with the Cowboys anyway. So
well, and there's that honeymoon period that's to me the Eagles are the best team in the division. I don't think anybody argues that, but when you talk about the NFC East, that you never know. And the other thing too is because 2 teams are going to have a honeymoon period with their coach, you never know. So it's an intriguing division, right? But this is one of those things. Halfway through the season, it might not be that intriguing anymore.
Right.
But we'll see what happens. But yeah, isn't that weird that Doug Peterson is the most tenured coach in the NFC East now? That quickly.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Obviously, look. Oh God, I already forgot his name for the Giants because I hated him so much. Shermer. Look, he's another one of these. He's another one of these guys who he's a career coordinator, great offensive coordinator, great offensive mind. He's not built to be a head coach. These past 2 seasons proved that. He won 9 games. He went 5-11, and basically our owner said he's like, as long as they improve, we will keep him. And instead, he went 4-12 the second year. And I get there was the whole thing with Manning and Daniel Jones and all that, but you still had Saquon Barkley. You still had a decent defense. You still had a chance. You could have won more than 5 games last year. And I think that, like you said, because of the NFC East, we're all going to beat Washington twice. Even the Giants will beat Washington twice, like we did last year. 2 of our 4 wins last year came against Washington. So I think that you look at that. I think that I always say 3-3. Somehow it's going to be a matchup of 3-3. I still think that there's an outside chance somehow either somebody messes up, and we almost stole one from Philly last year. But I think that because the Giants always play Philly tough. I know almost, but still, I'm going to bank on that we will steal 1 game from either Dallas or Philly.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, that is what makes the NFC East great. To be fair, is that, and Ray and I talked about this actually during the season, that one of the bottom teams in the NFC East is going to screw over one of the top teams, and it ended up happening with the Cowboys.
Yep.
Yeah. Right? So. That's what makes that division so unique. I mean, and you could say that every division has that, but the NFC East has a knack for that.
Mm-hmm.
Real quick side note. I just watched this speed run. What the hell? What the hell was that? First of all, how does somebody find that glitch? Number one, and he just wins the game out of nowhere. I was like, this is ridiculous.
Yep.
It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
How does that glitch even exist?
Yeah, that glitch is new, and it has to do with. Here's what I looked into it a little bit. So he does all those precise movements in the forest. You notice he's jumping side to side. That screws with the memory cache of the game. They're actually screwing with the code of the game, so that way when he goes into that one passage, he comes out at the end.
Yeah, so for those of you, you should go watch this. For those of you listening who haven't seen it, so he legit goes in a passage and the game ends. You won.
What? Yeah.
It's amazing. There's Princess Zelda. She's happy. He figured out a way to cheat the system. I mean, time travel's not good enough in that game for Princess Zelda. The fact he figured that glitch out is really what got her going. Now she's playing the Ocarina. Okay, I'm gonna stop talking. 7.5 minutes.
For my Giants, similar to you guys, I think that the Giants should draft Isaiah Simmons, the linebacker safety out of, I believe it's Clemson, who's an absolute stud, because the Giants on the defense desperately need another linebacker to fit their 3-4, desperately need another pass rushing linebacker. But probably similar to the Eagles, especially because more so this year than they have in previous years, there is not after the first 6 or 7 offensive linemen, there is a huge drop off in talent at that position. And I think the Giants are going to try and find their franchise left tackle to try and protect Daniel Jones. I think that's what they're going to, because Soldiers, as always, why do you pick up a free agent that Bill Belichick let go? If Belichick let him go, there's something wrong with him. And they did that with Nate Solder, and it's like he's been mediocre the past 2 years, and it's just like you can't do that. Don't pick up Belichick's trash. Belichick knows what he's doing.
Let the hate flow through you, Ray.
We're gonna get into Ray Rant season. We'll save it for Sunday to get deeper into the draft. I really do hope that the Giants take the linebacker, but I can see them. They're gonna take a lineman, probably offensive lineman.
Ray, I'm gonna tell you this, and this is me talking in a sports background right here. What the Giants need to do, and I am not trying to be funny. You're gonna think I am. I'm not. They need to draft and continue to make a team of misfits, because that will be the gel that brings them together.
That's
with
fair.
Daniel Jones and everybody else. Because here's the thing: there will be at some point enough talent for them to be competitive. They need to embrace, and this is the most not New York thing ever, by the way. All right, but they need to embrace it. They're a team of misfits. Everyone thinks they can't do it. In fact, I'm just realizing. I mean, that's not far off from the Eagles when they won the Super Bowl.
It's not.
All right?
That's the same thing.
It's really not far off when the Giants won their championships either.
We all got what we need.
Yeah, Eli was a big name, but yeah, I'm telling you, like that, they should embrace that at this point. And I think that's the move, because, and again, football is a sport. It's you never know. It's not like other sports where you can look at long tenured careers, but the Giants have to plan for when the Eagles get a little older at this point, and when there's that dip in our talent point. And like I said, trust me, it's very weird for me to be talking about the Eagles as they're the team to beat. There was a time in the turn of the century where I would say that, but you got to time things right. I mean, and that unfortunately that's what the Redskins really messed up horribly, right? Now they're just in hell. Right. Yeah. Yep. So it's just one of those things you got to embrace it. I'm not I think Daniel Jones can be a very good quarterback. And I think the fact that everybody says that he's just Dan Jones at a Duke, that's the way we say, but that's exactly, you're built for those moments. That's exactly what a guy's there for. All right.
Well, I mean, and we'll see. I mean, and even more than the thing that also worries me is that we mentioned the coaches, is that yes, Dallas has a new coach, Washington has a new coach, but they are proven winners. Ron Rivera took the Panthers to a Super Bowl. Mike McCarthy won a Super Bowl with Green Bay as the head coach, right? And now he's going to Dallas, which Dallas has a lot of talent. On paper, Dallas is still probably the most talented team in the division.
Massively underperformed team. Absolutely.
Yes, exactly. Washington, I mean, it's a dumpster fire, but Ron Rivera can maybe turn it around a little bit and maybe get something out of that team, right? There's talent. There is
not with Dan Snyder at the helm. No,
probably
way.
not. But I mean, they're probably gonna. Yeah, they're gonna probably draft they'll probably. Ooh, we're gonna get a wide receiver. Ooh,
tell me that's any different than James Dolan. Just tell me. I mean, there's no difference.
It's no different. No, exactly. Yeah. No, the Washington. That's very fair. The Washington Redskins are the New York Knicks of football.
Yeah,
and they're going to be terrible. They were at one time a great and glorious team and a proud franchise, and now they're a dumpster fire and should possibly get removed from the league. That's how bad they are. On both counts. But
keep poking the bird, Jason. We can get him going. Keep going.
So feisty.
Yeah, he's in Los Angeles.
Yeah. Well.
It's beautiful out here. The sun's shining. Everybody's riding their bikes outside without their mask on because it's a beautiful sunshiny day out here in LA.
You know what, though? I feel for LA people. I really do. There's no smog in the air and they're forced to wear masks. I mean, come on. That sucks.
Yeah, I know. We should be wearing masks during the rest of the year. Oh, God. Anyway. No, I think it's going to be interesting because to finish my point, the Giants have the one guy who's never been a head coach before, right? Joe Judge, who's the again, Belichick's getting rid of somebody because that's worked so well before with Romeo Crennel and Charlie Weiss and Matt Patricia and every other coordinator he's let go.
I'm going to confuse you. Hey. Doug Peterson is the exact same coach. And he won a Super Bowl. So don't. And that guy lost a lot in his lifetime. And he came in here and won a Super Bowl in his second season. I'm telling you, it can be done. I'm not saying you're going to win the Super Bowl, but it can be done.
But Doug Peterson also came from a coaching tree. Andy Reid's the people who leave Andy Reid, even though it took Andy Reid himself forever to win a Super Bowl, the people who leave from Andy Reid tend to be great coaches.
Yep.
The people who tend to lead from Belichick tend to be great coordinators, not coaches.
Yeah, that's true.
Because he's ruthless. He's a ruthless man, and I love it.
Exactly. There's no way that I'm going to let somebody who could possibly usurp me down my state.
Yeah, we're on to Cincinnati. We're on to Cincinnati.
He's gonna be a ruthless 6-10 this year. I hope he's excited for it.
Yeah, with Boyer at quarterback.
There you go.
Tom's a great guy. We're not going to play Tampa Bay, but we're on Cincinnati. I love doing him. He's so funny. I always want to do a fake press conference with him with just random questions like, "What did you think of the E-game last night?" Yeah, it was really. I was talking to another coach, so we're going to go on next week and see what we do. No emotion, no thoughts. Can you imagine this? Listen, we've been together a long time, and I just want to know, I've been on to this girl and that girl, but, will you marry me?
That's
yes, funny. I will. All right, we're on to the wedding. Let's do it. Tell me about the proposal. No, good proposal, good game. Give the other team credit, but we're on to the wedding. I could do a whole show like that. Belichick on. That's what we'd call it. I think they're going to be better than people think. I think the Pats are going to be a lot. This is the chance for him to prove.
This is to prove himself as a coach, but also, I mean, outside of the Bills, who else is going to possibly threaten them? The Jets are going to still be garbage. The Dolphins are in full-blown rebuild mode. They got 3 picks in the first round, I think it is. I think that they're going to, or I think it's like 5 in the first 2 rounds or something. Like they are very much in rebuild mode. In a couple years, Miami might be very dangerous, but not this year. Nope. Buffalo, obviously, with some of the trades they've made, some of the acquisitions they've made. Obviously, Josh Allen's their guy. He's going to have another year under his belt. That defense is still very stout. Buffalo is the only team that could possibly dethrone the Patriots at the top of that division. And knowing the Bills, they will blow it.
I refuse. I think I am one of those believers, and Jason, you can tell me if you disagree with this. I am one of those believers that, with all due respect to Tom Brady, and I really mean that, I believe Belichick is the more powerful being in that relationship than Brady. And I think that the quarterback is a very important position, but it's one position, and that team is very good. So we will see what happens this year.
I agree with you there.
Defense in the league.
I agree with you there. Yeah. I think some of that might be the fact that he was a 6th-round quarterback. Everyone ballyhoos he's the best 6th-round draft pick of all time. He was still a 6th-round draft pick. Are we going to see 6th-round Tom Brady when he's in Tampa Bay? Or are we going to see Patriots Tom Brady when he's in Tampa Bay? I'll tell you what, if the man upstairs came to me and he said, listen, the Eagles are not going to win the Super Bowl this year. They're not going to make the Super Bowl this year, but you're allowed to pick the Super Bowl this year, it's Tampa and
Yeah, that would be beautiful.
That'd be amazing.
How fun would that be, actually? Wait, who do you want to win that? Because I can do the Belichick press conference.
I would want Tom Brady. I would want Tampa Bay to win it just because.
Yeah, you want Tampa to win.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah, can you imagine that post conference? Listen, you didn't win the undefeated season, and now you lost to your former quarterback. How do you feel about that? I'm gonna retire. Goodbye.
No hope. Keel's over.
We're on retirement.
Yeah, I would also actually want Tampa Bay in that, but just because I like Bruce Arians. I like Bruce Arians.
Yeah.
Coach.
Yeah.
Do you think that when Tom Brady was having this conversation with Tampa Bay, they said, "Was there anything else you need?" And he goes, "Yeah, change that damn jersey. I'm not wearing it."
He might have.
I guarantee you that he did something like that. Yeah.
If we're talking fashion, though, he doesn't have a pot to piss in. He comes in those like leather, fur coats with the big walking in. Giselle dresses him. Giselle absolutely dresses him.
You're not a big TB12 fan?
I was a TB12 fan back in his first Super Bowl, and then he won 6. And I just can't look at his face.
But he lost 3. He lost 3.
Yeah, our teams. Yeah.
Listen, one of those losses means a lot more to me than the other 2. He should have lost 4.
Yeah.
But Donovan McNabb owed his lunch.
All them cameras being the practice field.
Here's a good question. Sports question. Then I'll shut up and let Ray actually finish the questions that he had.
Land the point.
So what do you think the Giants fans wanted more? This is a super fair question. When the Eagles were playing the Patriots, what do you think Giants fans wanted more? The Eagles to beat the Patriots because they hate the Patriots, or the Eagles to lose so they could be the only team to beat the Patriots?
They wanted the Patriots to beat the Eagles, but not to be the only team to beat the Patriots, because Eagles fans with the Super Bowl in their minds were probably insufferable, and they were right. So when I went to visit him in LA, the E3 after the Super Bowl, I made sure he picked me up from the airport that Sunday, and I was in my Super Bowl t-shirt and my Super Bowl hat, and he just looked at me like, "You mother."
You had to pick those to wear to here.
I won't tell you what he did when I was with him for the Super Bowl that year, because it might embarrass him.
I was very happy for Lee. I actually was rooting for the Eagles.
I didn't want to say it. So he was the best friend I've ever had. He's a Giants fan. I want everybody listening to understand that he is a massive, respectful, hardcore Giants fan. No one should ever question that. But on that night, he was rooting for me. I'll even say that. You weren't rooting for the Eagles. You were rooting for me.
Me too.
And that was one of the best celebrations ever, man. It was a wonder. Yeah, you were really good about that. But on the adverse, I lived in Jersey and New York area for 10 years during both those championships, and they were relentless. Relentless.
Yeah, we were.
We lost the 04 Super Bowl. Ray was with me when we lost the 04 Super Bowl too. That's weird. The famous words, Jason, I'll tell you this. I said during that Super Bowl, famously, it's like the Pats know every play we're running before we run it. And they have never let me live that down that I said that, because it was true.
It was true. It was true. So I have a friend just like Ray. He grew up in Long Island, major Mets and Giants fan. I mean, Ray obviously likes the Yankees more, but he was the same way. Like, he was happy for me, but I don't think he rooted for the Eagles. I think he was rooting for me, because I did the same for him. The first Giants over Patriots, the Tyree catch, the helmet catch. Yeah. My friend Lance was with me at my house on a Sunday night when they won the NFC Championship game on the game-winning field goal in Lambeau.
Yeah, in overtime.
He was with me, and I will never forget. He laid on the floor cheering, and we dogpiled him for the Giants.
Yeah, that's what happened with us.
You know what I mean? Like, I wanted it for him. I wanted to hear his voice. But back then,
larger than us, right?
But back then, it was partly because my friend would be happy about a Super Bowl, and partly because I wanted to know firsthand what it was like to win a championship. And I wanted to see that joy. I mean, I got my Phillies championship, I think, the next year or that year. It was 08. First one was 08.
2008 was in.
Now, funny enough, my first call in 09 after the World Series and we lost was to Ray to congratulate him on the Yankees winning.
Oh, God. He was probably suffering.
Yeah, he was down the street.
Number 27.
Yeah, must be tough.
I don't know. You're a stronger man than me. I probably would have punched him in the gut.
Oh, I've done that too.
I'm not that insufferable as compared to some.
The Demon! Who's coming down as the Demon? Big Blue!
Right.
Oh, God, I'll never forget that.
Ray, you have an entire segment of this podcast where you just rant.
Yeah.
And rage. It's what you do. You're
Yeah.
good at it.
Thank you, buddy. Thank you. It's my calling.
It is.
Oh, there's if only now I can make some money off my anger. my insufferable torment.
Media does it.
That's sports fandom in general, though, man.
Yeah.
You have your highs and your lows. Unfortunately, there's more lows than highs because that's the nature of the leagues.
Yeah. No, for sure. There's 30 to 32 teams in every league, so there's
No, I'm gonna disagree. Ray doesn't get to bitch about anything. With the teams that he roots for, he does not get to complain about
Talking
anything.
to us,
he can be,
no.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Thank you.
Talking to someone from Boston, probably.
Maybe.
Outside of
in basketball and hockey. In football, not really, because I mean the Giants have the third most Super Bowls and the third most championships all time.
Hey, how many
Obviously in
championships?
baseball, I can never say anything because the Yankees are the Yankees. Like
How many Yankees championships in your life so far? 5?
in my life, yeah,
Yeah.
5. I've seen 5. And
5.
I've seen them lose 3 others.
So you already got Jason I beat. So five Yankee wins. The Rangers have won, right?
Once, yeah, 94.
Giants have 3.
Giants
right?
have 4. The Giants have won
4, so
all
that's
4 Super Bowls.
10.
I was 8 months old when the Giants won their first Super Bowl.
You got 10 championships in your lifetime and like 14 appearances.
Yeah, that's fair.
So that's a good win percentage.
Actually, yeah, that is pretty good.
Yeah.
The Knicks will never win
Oh
anything.
no, I made him smile. Oh no. Look at it. Look at him holding it in. Look at him trying to hold it.
All right. This is a different kind of dogpiling on Ray right now. I think I think we can land this plane. I really do. This was a fun talk though. Seriously, guys, this was good talk about games. Good talking about sports. Jason, thank you again so much for coming on, buddy. Of course, Jason Fanelli. You can find him on the Hollywood Reporter, HollywoodReporter.com. Just search Jason Fanelli. He has a weekly column. He does every week on eSports. It's fantastic. Also, you can hear him every Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern, 1 p.m. Pacific on Fox Sports The Gambler, 1480 a.m. in Philadelphia. Buddy, again, thank you so much. It's been so good seeing you and good talking to you, and stay safe. Lee, I'll talk to you later.
This felt good, guys. It was like getting back on a bike when I haven't been on for a while. I appreciate it. It was awesome.
Yeah, no, this was good. Thank you so much for coming on. And was that the Belichick voice trying to sign off?
We're on the next episode. We're going to be on the next episode. This episode's over. It was a good episode. We're on to the next episode.
Good night, everybody.